Hello, everyone. On today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about, quantum physics and light and the duality of light in quantum physics. So first of all, I'm going to talk about energy. In this world, everything is energy. And energy is nothing more than a sea of currents. Energy is electricity. Electricity is energy. And, even scientists tell you that, empty space isn't empty. It's just a vast sea of energy, flowing energy. And that's very key. We live in a world that's all energy, and energy is always flowing. Just like the wind flows from, places of, high heat to low heat, places of high pressure to low pressure. Everything is always flowing, just like water. The earth itself is only a thicker version of water. The earth, from my point of view, is not flowing, but from the point of view of energy, it is always flowing. Everything is always flowing. Everything is always moving. Yes, the earth is moving slower than water because the earth is heavier than water, but everything flows. Since the earth is heavier than water, it flows slower. Since water is heavier than air, it flows slower than air. Since air is heavier than, the the air or the atmosphere is heavier than space itself, it flows slower than space itself. It's like an endless gradient. Earth is heavy, Earth is the heaviest or the densest, and it just gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. But the truth is, everything flows. From my point of view, Earth isn't flowing, right? But if you speed up time to like millions of seconds, millions of hours per second, you'll start to realize that the Earth itself behaves just like water. It is constantly flowing. It is constantly moving. Earthquakes happen. What we call earthquakes are probably nothing more than just waves. But because it's moved so slowly, it appears as if, it's an earthquake. From our point of view, the earth isn't moving because, the earth is moving slower than what we can comprehend. But this entire world is a world of flowing energy. Everything is always moving. Scientists have, say it. I've said many times that, matter, atoms are always flowing. They're always vibrating. They're always moving. Nothing ever stands still. We live in a massive current of energy, a massive ocean of energy. Everything in this world is one massive ocean of energy. And that ocean is always flowing. It's always, swishing around, flowing. In this massive ocean, there are things that are dense and there are things that are light. The lighter particles flow faster than the heavier and denser particles. The more concentrated particles, flow slower than the ones that, that are more than the lighter or the less concentrated particles. And that's how this whole world works. Just like, light has, scientists say that light functions as a particle or a wave. That's how our world works as well. Because everything is a wave, because everything is an ocean of energy, an ocean of currents. Everything is a particle. Particles are an illusion created by what? Energy. And energy is constantly flowing. It's constantly changing from one form to another. It's always in the changing, in the flowing state. Just like light. From one point of view, the world is just like, light can be a particle and a wave. That's how it is with the world as well. From one point of view, light is a particle. From another point of view, light is a wave. This is the duality of the world itself. This is a property of the world itself, not just light. From one point of view, the whole world is one massive ocean of currents, one massive wave of currents. From another point of view, The entire world is filled with different particles, atoms, matters, you know, there's matter, there's atoms, there are protons, there are neutrons, there are electrons, there's subatomic particles, there are neutrinos. These are different particles. But yet, the thing that composes of this particle is nothing more than waves, nothing more than energy. And energy is always flowing. The world, the empty space in between atoms isn't empty. It's filled with constantly flowing energy. And that constant flowing energy is the same thing that makes up the very atoms, that we see. The flowing energy that composes of, that makes up empty space is the same energy that's within these very atoms. Our world is a duality of waves and particles. Light, the properties of light that we see isn't just for light, it's the whole world. The whole world is a wave and a particle at the same time. We're each separate beings, but at the same time, we're all one. Just like your mind. Your mind is one, right? A human being is one, but yet a human being is composed of what? Tiny little cells. And each cell is its own body. Each cell is its own unique creation, its own unique organism. It functions on its own. It has its own life and its own death. It doesn't even care about the rest of the body. It only cares about himself. This is how our life works. Although everything appears separate, although everything appears as if we are each our own individual particles, right? Although everything appears as if we're all individual particles, individual forms of matter, the truth is we're all one never-ending ocean, one massive being, one massive energy, one massive connected being. We're inside the body of God. And God is using his body, which is one, to create each individual particle, each individual atom, each individual person. Just like, your cells, each cell in your body comes together to create your body, to create you, to create that one mind of yours, that one body of yours. That's how this world works. Everything comes together to create one, because everything is one. One created everything. That's why the Bible states that God is the creator of all things. And God is one. There's only one God. And God is omnipresent. Because God is omnipresent, it automatically means that God is everything. God created everything out of his own body. So, separation is an illusion created by what? Connection. Everything in this world is connected. There's no such thing as random chance. Everything in this world is connected. There's no such thing as coincidence. We're all one, yet we appear separate. Your mind is one, yet your body appears separate. You have a bunch of tiny little atoms in your body, yet your body comes together to form one mind, one person. The whole world is one massive ocean, and that ocean is one being. That being is God. This is how the world works. As above, so below. Just like the world, just like, light behaves, that's how the whole world behaves. Light is both a particle and a wave, yet is neither a particle nor a wave. We are both God and not God at the same time. Since God is everything, each one of us is a separate being. Since God created each one of us to be separate, we will always appear separate from our point of view. But from God's point of view, we will always be one. We will always be God. From God's point of view, everything is God. From our point of view, we are our own individual beings. From the point of view of energy, everything is energy. From our point of view, we are each separate beings. Every atom is different. Everything is separate. Every electron is different. Every proton is separate. But yet, we're all connected. We are all one. Everything in this world is connected. Everything in this world is one. One being, and that being is God. This is how our world works. It's not just light that has that property of particle and waves. The duality of particle and wave. When everything is a particle, nothing is a particle. When everything is a wave, nothing is a wave. Just like I stated in my previous, podcast episode. When everything is tall, nothing is tall. When everything is short, nothing is short. When everything moves at the same direction and the same speed, nothing is moving. When everything is not moving, everything is moving. When everything is a particle, nothing is a particle. When everything is a wave, nothing is a wave. This is how our world works, Because God is everything. God is also nothing. Because God created everything, right? Out of his own body. We will never be able to see God because God has taken the shape of every single thing. Every separate thing that we see is God. But because everything is separate, everything looks different. We'll never be able to see God anywhere. That's how this world works. Because God created this world in this way, we'll never be able to see God's real physical form. Even energy, it was created by God. Just like you were created by God. Everything in this world is God. Because everything in this world is God, nothing is. This is why you'll never see God anywhere. Because God's true form is everything. Since God's true form is everything, you can't really see God's true form. Because we can't see everything. We can only see what we can see. And what we can see is very, very finite. Very, very small. That's how this world works. The whole world is a wave. The world is one massive ocean of energy. Because the world is one massive ocean of energy. Nothing is energy. There is no ocean. We only see particles. We only see our own individual beings. We don't see the energy that creates us. We don't see the flow of energy that's constantly flowing from our body, from one body to the next. This whole world is it's an endless flow of energy. The whole world is always flowing, just like light is always flowing. But because everything is always flowing, nothing is flowing. The electromagnetic spectrum, what? It looks like a wave, right? Even light itself looks like a wave. Everything is always flowing. Everything is always vibrating like a wave. But because everything is always flowing, nothing is. This world is very complex, and God made it very complex. Because God made it very complex, it's very hard to understand. Because everything is too hard to understand, it becomes simple to understand. So that's it for everyone. That's it for today's podcast episode. Although I can explain it a bit more. I feel like if you listen to my previous episode, you understand what I'm trying to say even more. So that's it for today's podcast episode. I pray for everyone's good health and understanding, and also everyone's safety. Amen.